I don't think there's any question if you look at how last season played out for the San Francisco 49ers that whether you believe in like Super Bowl losers curse, blah, 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 they are perfect validation of you've got to take advantage of the opportunity when you're in that spot where you could win the Super Bowl because the next season is no guarantee of anything. That's undoubtedly true. You can also sit there and say that this team was incredibly impacted by injuries, a lot of them to many key players. And that is also true. And while that in and of itself shouldn't automatically be an excuse or justification for what happened last year and the disappointment of that season, I mean, you have to be realistic at some point. Like, you can only in this era lose but so many guys and so many notable names, so many guys you've invested big money or high draft picks into before it starts to have an impact. Like, to me, you saw more of the impact of good coaching of Robert Saleh on the defensive side and Kyle Shanahan on the offensive side to kind of keep this team even battling, keep them competitive, even keep them in a position, because a lot of other coaching staffs would have imploded under the weight of the pressure of all of these injuries and the expectations from the previous year. So certainly a disappointing season for the San Francisco 49ers, but it doesn't have to necessarily be the end of the road for them or anything. It could certainly be positioned to have a bit of a bounce back season this year, and I think some people are looking for them to have a bounce back season. I don't know that I am fully, maybe a little bit, but I also don't think that's the most important thing. I just don't. You look at them, what they did in the offseason, they brought in Alex Mack to beef up the offensive line, signed Ebukam away from the Rams, beef up the defense a little bit, along with Michael Kendricks, Zach Kerr. Some of the losses they had wasn't anybody that you look at and you say, oh man, how are they going to get over that? Like Kendrick Bourne and Kerry Hyder, Ahkello Witherspoon and Tevin Coleman all feel like guys that are replaceable. Like, these aren't core key cog type of guys. Much more important for them to get somebody like a Nick Bosa back healthy. You still have Fred Warner. You still have George Kittle. If you have him healthy for a full season, again, it's going to make a bit of a difference. As much as anything else, the single greatest acquisition that this team could make was an offseason arrest in getting guys healthy. But as we got towards the NFL draft time, we all know the San Francisco 49ers made the big move up the draft board from 12 all the way up to number 3 to ultimately go get a quarterback. And while there were rumors for a time was, Kyle Shanahan might look at Mac Jones and think he's like a Kirk Cousins or a Matt Ryan, so he's going to go after him. The 49ers made the right call here, regardless of how Mac Jones develops in his career. You don't trade up as much as you did, to give up as much as you did, to go get a guy that lacks elite physical tools. It's that simple. Trey Lance was absolutely the right quarterback to take in that spot, and he was the right quarterback for the 49ers to take. You're not looking to get a Jimmy G type of clone type of guy. You're looking for somebody different, somebody that brings more to the table, somebody who brings unique traits, elite type of physical skills. And, now since you've drafted him, the question is going to be ultimately, like, how do you utilize him? When do you utilize him? When is it Trey Lance time? How long are you going to ride with Jimmy Garbage Pail? And I know what my simple answer is. Now. He should be starting week 1. He should be. I can't believe the 49ers agreed to pay Jimmy G as much as they did this year when they didn't have to. Like, go find what Trey Lance can do. Jimmy G is not going to rock your socks off. He's not the type of guy that's going to carry your team. To which inevitably, here come the 49ers fans talking about, when he was in the lineup, the record is this, and he has a great record as a starting quarterback. And yeah, except for the fact that also means that a lot of other players on the offense, and especially the defense, were healthier. That makes a big damn difference. He is not a championship-level quarterback, just full stop. You need to find out what Trey Lance can do. So while there are certainly some thoughts here that, Jimmy G is good, he's just not very good or great, he's good, he's average. I mean, that's what he is, he's average. You say, he's average, okay, but if he's healthy, that's an improvement of quite a bit over what they got out of the quarterback position last year. If you got Nick Bosa and other guys are healthy on the defense for most of the year, all the year, George Kittle maybe plays 14-plus games. I guess this is a 49ers team that even with the loss of defensive coordinator Robert Saleh to the Jets to become their new head coach, like this is a team that you feel is going to be better and quite a bit better. And that could very well happen. Like you look at the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship season in 2019, last year's kind of failed, wasted season. They're probably somewhere in the middle there. As they've still got a high-level defensive front with guys like Bosa and Armstead, Dee Ford, Javon Kinlaw, last year's first-round pick. Their run defense, as a part of that, having guys like Warner in the middle of that defense, you're talking about a defense that can really play the run well. And then I look at them offensively, like, you look at the 49ers, their skill talent is not the best, but they find ways to manufacture opportunities in that offense, and that comes down a lot to Kyle Shanahan, the play caller. He's still an asset for this team to have, there's no question. Question mark-wise, like, who's going to run the ball for this offense? That's something I would be concerned about quite a bit, especially when you inevitably end up putting Trey Lance into the lineup. Their secondary, you lost Witherspoon. There's no Richard Sherman. Like, what do you got going on here? Who's going to be able to stop opposing wide receivers? You're looking at a division where you got to face guys like Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp twice a year, and Tyler Lockett and Deeks J. Metcalf twice a year. You got to face DeAndre Hopkins and maybe A.J. Green twice a year. That's not exactly the weakness you want to have in that division. Can they avoid injuries? Like I said, they had a lot of injuries, especially key notable injuries last year. So much as anything else, the most important ability you have is the ability of availability, and they need to be able to stay away from the injury bug. And how long, to me, like, here's the biggest question, like, how long are you going to waste on Jimmy Garoppolo? And let's be clear, every game that he starts is a waste of time. Even every win that they have with him as a starting quarterback is a waste of time. I understand 49ers fans are probably anxious. Hey, we're going to be fully healthy, and we might be got the quarterback of the future, but we've got something we can win now. I understand that. I get it. But that's not what this season should be about. It should all be about Trey Lance. Because if you're trying to win 10 or 11 games this year and get bounced early in the playoffs and you want to be stuck in that toiling cycle of mediocrity, then have at it. If you're trying to sit there and say, hey, maybe we'll take a couple of lumps this year, but we'll better position ourselves for the long-term game so that way we could potentially be a contender the next 10 to 15 years, potentially looking at in a couple of years, do we have the best quarterback in the division, one of the best quarterbacks in the conference? Like, that, to me, should be the name of the game. That should be the goal. Well, we'll see what they end up doing. But he should be starting from day one. He absolutely should. When I look at this team's schedule, you look at the first 2 weeks, you have 2 winnable games, although they are both on the road. You got to go to Detroit. New head coach, new quarterback, new system. Hard to predict what's going to happen there. Week 2 with the Eagles. Kind of a new quarterback, because it's not like Jalen Hurts started all last year. New head coach and Nick Sirianni. So again, they might not be good, but you don't know what you have. You get what I'm saying? Like, so there's a bit of mystery there. Then weeks 4 and 5, you've got Seattle at home, and then you got to go to Arizona. Weeks 9 and 10, you've got Arizona and the Rams back-to-back weeks at home. I would expect, absolutely, this team, assuming they stay away from the injury bug, that they'll be better this year. I have more confidence in them than I do, let's say, the Arizona Cardinals. I like Trey Lance's upside more when he eventually gets in the lineup. I like Kyle Shanahan as a head coach more than I do Cliff Kingsbury. So I think the 49ers, could have an outside shot of surprising some folks this year, but part of that might be attached to how long you stick with Jimmy G and how much are you trying to undercut your future upside. I think this team can win 8 games, maybe 9, maybe more, but I'm also trying to factor in, I would have to assume at some point in time, Trey Lance is going to be the starter. I mean, you really can't go the entire year giving up as much as you gave up to go get Trey Lance to sit him the entire year, can you? Can you? Well, that's going to be awfully tempting to look at Jimmy G and what he can do, and more importantly, what he can't do. And then you look at Trey Lance, you get captivated and titillated by the sensations of what he could potentially produce. Like, yeah, I get it. I understand it. But like I said, I have more confidence in the Cardinals than I do the 49ers because I think their team is better. I think they're better coached. I like their upside at the quarterback position more. I like a lot of things about them more. I'm not ready to put them in the conversation with a Rams or a Seahawks team. No. Now, granted, they are, less than 2 years removed from being the conference champions, but, that was more of a perfect storm, perfect formula. Like, Hard to replicate that type of a success, especially with the way that team was constructed. I think this team hovers around 500 most of the year and, tries to stay in the mix to get that last wild card spot in the NFC, but may ultimately fall a little bit short. But if they do that and Trey Lance started most of the season and he looks like he could be the dude, then frick the wins and losses. Your future looks bright, and that's what matters most.